The story kicks off with a plane flying over the dense jungles of the Amazon. Our main character, Justine, who clearly didn't check the airline's safety rating, was sitting peacefully with her friends, probably daydreaming about her next Instagram post. Suddenly, something unknown attacks the plane. Very descriptive. This mystery force throws the plane off course, and it starts dropping faster than a YouTuber's reputation after a leaked DM scandal. Within seconds, the plane hits the jungle with a horrifying impact. The back section snaps off, and one girl is ejected immediately. Talk about an early exit. As the plane continues its downward spiral, more people go flying out like they're participating in a very disorganized skydiving competition without parachutes. Screaming breaks out, because apparently that's the most helpful thing you can do when your altitude hits 0. The plane finally comes to a halt, wobbling in the middle of the jungle like a drunk uncle at a wedding. The pilot gets a tree branch through the chest, definitely not in the job description, and another girl dies right in her seat. The survivors scramble out, but because the universe is feeling particularly petty, one student walks straight into the spinning propeller blades. Pro tip: if the plane just crashed, maybe don't walk into the spicy fans. In all this final destination energy, they manage to lose their GPS tracker. Classic. Cell phones are useless, the signal is non-existent, and the one doctor who actually knew where they were is now a permanent resident of the forest floor. Just as things couldn't get worse, a guy named Harv hears sounds. Now, Harv, our resident ideas man, thinks the local tribal people will just lead them to a river road, like they're the Amazon Welcome Committee. Small problem, they don't speak English and they aren't looking for Yelp reviews. The tribe launches a direct attack. Harv's girlfriend gets 360 no-scoped by an arrow, and the rest of the group is knocked out by poison darts. Justine wakes up in a wooden boat because nothing says tropical vacation like being tied up by strangers. She tries to untie her ropes, but a man painted jet black, the tribe's black butcher, jumps on her. This guy is the Michelin star chef of the cannibal world, and he is not looking for a salad. They reach the shore and are greeted by the whole village, painted red like they're at a very intense DIY paint party. The students are paraded into the village, passing by skeletons hanging from trees and human skulls on sticks, red flags that the group is unfortunately too tied up to run away from. They meet the elder chief, a man who leans on a stick and rules with an iron fist. He taps his stick, the noise stops, and he examines the students like he's picking out the freshest produce at a farmer's market. The kids are locked in a pig cage, which is a significant downgrade from their previous accommodations. A crowd gathers to stare at them like they're the main attraction at a buffet. Then there's the chubby guy. Let's be real in these movies, the guy who looks like he enjoys a second dessert is always the first course. The tribe forces a weird liquid down his throat, basically a marinade, and pins him to a stone slab. The chief, with zero chill, pops the guy's eyes out and tastes them like they're gourmet olives. Then he goes for the tongue. Apparently the chief likes his appetizers fresh. The black butcher then starts dismembering the guy like he's prepping a Sunday roast. It's a brutal reminder that in the Amazon, being well marbled is a death sentence. The torso is seasoned with a special spice paste because even cannibals have standards, and shoved into a clay oven. Soon, the smell of long pig fills the air, and even the tribal kids are drooling. It's official. The students aren't guests. They're the catering. Justine and the survivors are understandably losing it. Only Harv is calm, which is code for completely useless. He's still checking his phone for a signal, probably hoping for a 1-star roaming connection. The tribe sits down for dinner, and it looks like a normal family gathering, except the main dish used to have a 4.0 GPA. The tribe even keeps humans in cages alongside pigs and cows. It's a full-on farm-to-table operation, and our characters are the harvest. As night falls and the village goes dark, no electricity, go figure, the intellectuals of the group try to make a plan. The bearded guy wants the GPS, but Harv points out the obvious. They're surrounded by hungry people who just finished the appetizer. Justine finally snaps at Harv because, reminder, this entire trip was his brilliant idea. A girl tries to escape through the roof, but a guard hits her with a dart immediately. Great effort, 0 results. The next morning, Justine tries to Disney princess her way out of this. She sees a small tribal boy staring at her necklace, which is also a whistle. She plays a tune, hoping for a musical bond, but instead, she just summons the Black Butcher. He drags the girls out, they get the pre-cook examination from the elder, and while 2 are sent back, Justine is taken away separately. Then it rains. A lot. During the downpour, one girl, a former track star, decides to make her move. She uses her phone ringtone as a distraction, which is the most useful thing a phone has done in this entire movie, and bolts for the river. She finds a boat and actually manages to paddle away. Meanwhile, Justine is dragged back, uninjured but painted in red and white. The group is confused until they see another tribal girl with her legs tied. The realization hits. They aren't going to eat Justine yet. They're going to marry her off. And trust me, the till death do us part bit is going to happen a lot sooner than she'd like. 2. The Cannibal Wedding and Bad Buffet. Chapter: Justine is now dressed in her Sunday best. If your Sunday best involves ritualistic body paint and the looming threat of becoming a child bride to a man who probably hasn't brushed his teeth since the Stone Age. Harv, showing his true colours as the world's worst travel agent, tells Justine she's lucky. According to his expert analysis, being a forced bride is better because you survive a little longer. Thanks for the pep talk, Harv. I'm sure that'll look great in the wedding vows. While the bearded guy tells Harv to shut his trap, the tribal catering service arrives with bowls of mystery meat stew. Justine, ever the optimist, tries the whistle trick again on the small boy. Meanwhile, we have the blonde girl. She's a vegetarian, which is a bold lifestyle choice when you're literally on the menu, but hunger finally wins out. She starts digging into the stew like it's a chipotle bowl, only to reach the bottom and find a very familiar tattoo staring back at her. Surprise! The track star didn't make it as far as we thought. She just transitioned from the 100-meter dash to the 100-calorie snack. The blonde girl handles this about as well as you'd expect, by smashing the bowl and using a shard to exit the movie permanently. Honestly, respect. It beats waiting around to be seasoned. But the survivors aren't about to let a good corpse go to waste. They stuff her throat with marijuana leaves, hoping that when the cannibals inevitably have their girl boss BBQ, they'll get too stoned to remember how to guard a cage. It's a literal potluck dinner. The plan actually works. The Black Butcher chops her up, throws her in the oven, and soon the entire village is vibing on a level they've never experienced. While the guards are busy staring at their own hands and wondering if the trees are judging them, Justine and the bearded guy make a break for it. But because Harv is a world-class hater, he knocks out another guy who tries to run, just to ensure he isn't the only one left in the cage. With friends like Harv, who needs cannibals, Justine and the bearded guy bolt for the river, heading upstream because that's where hope lives, apparently. Naturally, Justine slips into the rapids, because what's a jungle escape without a near drowning? The bearded guy saves her with a branch, and they stumble back to the original plane wreckage. It's a lovely stroll down memory lane, featuring the sun-dried remains of their classmates hanging on poles like macabre beef jerky. The bearded guy finally finds his GPS tracker, but shocker, it's dead. Luckily, they hear a phone ringing in the pocket of Harv's dead ex-girlfriend. They find the phone, they're celebrating, they're practically halfway to a victory dance, and then the tribe shows up. All that running, just to end up back in the to-be-processed bin. The tribal women start prepping the bride, again, while the bearded guy gets the most creative punishment yet. The Black Butcher breaks all his bones, no anesthesia, obviously, and coats him in a green mud paste that smells like ant heaven. Within minutes, he's covered in hundreds of biting ants. It's a slow-motion nightmare, and Justine can only watch while she gets her bridal makeup done. Suddenly, screams erupt from the village. No, it's not another bad review. The rescue team has arrived. And by rescue team, I mean a heavily armed group that looks like they're here to liberate the jungle with maximum prejudice. The elder chief sees the arrival of fresh prey and orders a full-scale hunt, emptying the village faster than a free pizza announcement at a dorm. Left alone with just the women and children, Justine sees her chance. That little boy she's been whistling at? Turns out, music really does soothe the savage beast. Or at least the savage preschooler. He frees her. Justine tries to save the bearded guy, but he's basically a human ant farm at this point. He tells her to take the phone and run. To end his misery, the tribal boy slits the guy's throat. Talk about a mercy killing that feels a bit too enthusiastic. Justine is officially the last girl standing. As she flees, she passes Harv's cage. He begs her to take him along, but Justine, finally developing a backbone, looks at the man who betrayed everyone and basically says, "New phone, who dis?" and leaves him to his fate. The boy leads her to the edge of the jungle. She gives him her whistle as a thanks for not eating me souvenir, and she hits the river. But the tribe is still on her tail. Just as they're about to turn her into a pincushion, a jaguar appears. Now, these cannibals have a weird religious thing for jaguars. Since the big cat doesn't immediately eat Justine, they figure she's blessed and let her go. Nothing like a 200-pound predator acting as your cosmic hall pass. Justine reaches the other side of the river and stumbles directly into a literal hellscape. It's the ultimate showdown, primitive cannibals versus modern ballistics. The rescue team, who look like they wandered out of a different, much higher budget action movie, are absolutely laying waste to the tribe. It turns out that while poisoned darts are great for a sneak attack, they don't do much against a guy with a tactical vest and an itchy trigger finger. The tribal members are falling in record numbers, and the jungle floor is quickly becoming a very crowded place. Justine, however, has a major branding problem. She is still covered from head to toe in ritualistic bride-to-be paint, looking less like a college student and more like the village's star attraction. Realizing that the rescue team is currently operating on a shoot first, identify the body later policy, she realizes she needs to prove her civilized status immediately. In a stroke of survival genius, or maybe just the first smart move anyone has made since the plane took off, she pulls out the scavenged cell phone. She holds that glowing screen up like a holy relic. Nothing says I pay taxes and have a LinkedIn profile like a smartphone. The commander sees the device and realizes he's not looking at a local. He's looking at a tourist with a very traumatizing story to tell. He barks an order, and the gunfire finally stops before Justine can become collateral damage. As the smoke clears, the soldiers lead her toward the helicopter, the most beautiful piece of machinery she's ever seen. Just as she's about to step into safety, a soldier stops her. He looks her in the eye and asks the million-dollar question. Is anyone else still alive out there? Did anyone else make it? This is the moment. Justine's brain probably does a quick highlight reel of the last 48 hours. She thinks about the bearded guy who turned into an ant farm. She thinks about the blonde girl who became a human edible. And most importantly, she thinks about Harv, the guy who organized this death trip, the guy who knocked out his own friend to save his skin, and the guy currently sitting in a cage waiting for his turn in the oven. Justine takes a deep breath, stares the soldier down, and with the cold, calculated precision of a woman who is officially done with everyone's nonsense, she says, "No, everyone is dead. I'm the only one." She doesn't even blink. She leaves Harv to his fate without a second thought. It's the ultimate unfriend move. The helicopter lifts off, leaving the blood-soaked village and the backstabbing Harv behind forever. Back in the real world, the news of the miracle survivor spreads like wildfire. Justine is everywhere. Magazines, talk shows, probably a Netflix documentary deal in the works. But here is where the story gets truly weird. Instead of telling the truth, which, let's be honest, would involve explaining how her friends tasted with spice rub, she tells a massive, steaming pile of lies. She tells the public that the tribal people were actually a peaceful, misunderstood group that took her in and nursed her back to health. She claims they were the only reason she survived the harsh Amazon conditions. Why the gaslighting? She wants to protect the tribe's territory from being invaded or civilized by the government. She decides that even though they tried to eat her friends and marry her off to a guy who smells like rawhide, they deserve to be left alone. It's the ultimate Stockholm syndrome. Or maybe she just really wants to make sure no one else ever finds that village to double-check her story. The film ends on a note that'll make your skin crawl. Justine is finally back home, tucked into her expensive, high thread count sheets, trying to forget the smell of the clay oven. Her phone rings. It's Harv's sister. She's been obsessively scouring satellite images of the region where the plane went down, looking for any sign of her brother. She tells Justine, "I found something. I think it's him." She shows Justine a grainy, high-altitude photo of the village. There, standing in the center of the tribe, is a man. He's built exactly like Harv, but he isn't in a cage anymore. He's covered in jet black paint from head to toe. He's standing over a cutting table with a very familiar, very large knife. Harv didn't die. He didn't get eaten. He realized he had no future back home and decided to lean into the local culture. He took the job opening. He is the new black butcher. Harv went from being the guy who ruined the vacation to being the guy who prepares the local delicacies. He finally found a career path where being a cold-blooded sociopath is actually a job requirement. And as Justine stares at the image of her former friend turned chef, the screen goes black. The real moral is that loyalty has an expiration date, and it's usually right around the time the oven preheats. Justine taught us that if your friend is a backstabbing snake who gets everyone turned into appetizers, you don't need to save him. You just need to leave him behind and tell the world he died a hero. In fact, why stop at leaving him? Lie to the entire United Nations to protect the people who tried to eat you, just so your friend has to spend the rest of his life as a full-time butcher without a pension or a dental plan. Essentially, if life gives you cannibals, make sure your enemies are the ones getting seasoned. Then gaslight the entire world until you get a book deal.